In this video, we're going to look at how to use the pressure sensor. By the end, you should be able to connect the pressure sensor, set up a pressure volume and pressure temperature investigation, and collect data using the pressure sensor and Logger Pro software.
The first thing that will happen is your lab group will get this box. When you open the box, you should have 3 items in the box. The first is the gas pressure sensor. The second is a syringe without a needle, just a syringe. And the third is a stopper apparatus. You'll need one more item to use this probe, and that is the GoLink. The GoLink comes in a Ziploc bag, so you'll take that out as well. So the first thing I'm going to demonstrate for you here is attaching the GoLink to the sensor. So the sensor has a plug that clips right into the GoLink, and you'll hear a little click. Okay, I'm going to plug the GoLink, which is connected to the sensor, the pressure sensor, into the computer, and when I do that through the USB connection, you'll see this red, yellow light. Now, when we open up Logger Pro, which is what we want to use, we should see the light turn green, indicating that Logger Pro has recognized the sensor and it knows that we're going to be taking some pressure data points.
When the gas sensor probe is plugged into your computer, you're then going to launch Logger Pro. So you're going to go into Applications, find Logger Pro, double click. Here you are. And you should see that pressure is highlighted here in the lower left corner, indicating that it can read the gas pressure sensor. But now it says we're going to collect pressure versus time, and that's not true. We're really interested here in the relationship between volume and pressure. So we're going to come up to Experiment, scroll down to Data Collection. And in this mode, instead of time-based, we're going to click on Events with Entry. Now, here, we're going to make a column for the volume. So the computer is able to take the pressure measurements on its own because the pressure sensor is plugged in. However, it will not know the volume of the gas sample that we're using. So we're going to say this is volume. We can do a short name if we want, perhaps vol, V-O-L. And for units, our syringe is measuring volume in milliliters. So I'm just going to use the abbreviation for that here. And then we're going to hit Done. And you'll see that we have volume here on our left side. So volume here is our independent variable and pressure is the dependent variable.
So we're going to get a confined sample of gas. In this case, it's a sample of the air from the room, by withdrawing the plunger so that the top ring, this ring, closest to the edge of the syringe, is sitting on the 10. So I'll do that here. And you're going to hold the plunger, with one hand, and then we're going to connect it to the gas pressure sensor. And actually, it will stay at 10, so you don't have to hold it at this point. This feels like a situation where you could just keep screwing it into the hole for eternity, but you really can't. You want to place the syringe into the pressure sensor and gently twist until you feel resistance. If you keep going through the resistance, you can probably end up breaking the device. So just until you hit resistance. All right. Now the computer, the sensor, is telling us what the pressure is of this sample of gas.
All right, so let's collect some data. We'll come up to the green button with the arrow, press Collect, and then to actually get some data points here, we'll press the button called Keep. This is when we tell the computer what volume it is we're using. So for this first data point in the pressure volume investigation, we're using a volume of 10 milliliters. So we enter 10, hit OK, and you'll notice now we have a pressure for that volume that we used. It was the pressure the sensor measured at that moment.
So we're going to change the volume. So the first thing we can do is start making the volume smaller. So I'm going to create a volume of 8 milliliters by pressing in the plunger until it hits 8 and holding it there. If you let go, it moves back up a little bit. So you really have to hold it when you get to a new volume. So at that point, you would hold it and your lab partner would go over to the computer and press the button on Logger Pro that tells you to collect a pressure data point. You can continue making smaller volumes by pressing the plunger. We'll also want some larger volumes. So in that case, you'll need to withdraw it up to some value above 10. And again, you'll need to hold it when you're taking the pressure measurement. You can also investigate the relationship between the temperature of a gas and its pressure. Again, with the pressure being the dependent variable, and in this case, the independent variable is the temperature. So we're going to attach the gas pressure sensor to the stopper with the tubing attached that was in your box. Again, just a very gentle twist until you meet resistance. So then you're going to put the stopper into the flask. One thing that's essential is if your blue clamp is perpendicular, which means closed, turn it to parallel. You're now opening this clamp so that the tubing is connected to the gas in here. So in this whole area, you have a confined sample of gas, and that's what we're going to be measuring the pressure of in response to temperature changes. So the most effective way to change the temperature of this confined sample of gas is to use a water bath. So I have a water bath prepared here. Now you'll notice that if I really want to submerge this flask, the water is rising and could possibly spill out. So you'll kind of want to play with the amount of water you have in your water bath to really hit the sweet spot of, I'm going to be able to cover most or surround most of my flask with water, but it's also not going to spill out of the beaker. And someone in your group is going to have to hold it down because, as you know, air is less dense than water, so without holding it, it's just kind of going to pop out. So someone's going to be holding it down. Another person is going to be taking the temperature of the water, which we assume to be the same as the gas, using a thermometer. And that person also will want to be holding the thermometer up so it's not touching the bottom of the flask, which is in contact with the hot plate. So kind of more coordination required for this lab. If these things bump into each other, that's no problem, but you obviously want to prevent a lot of crashing of the glass objects. And so as time goes on, you'll decide with your group, at what interval will someone be calling out the temperature, and then when that person calls out the temperature, another person will be collecting a pressure reading on Logger Pro. And to get colder temperatures, you can also make a water bath that's full of ice with a little bit of water, so an ice water bath.
That is the end of the pressure sensor video. Please take a moment to review the goals and make sure you understand.